Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the head coach of the Fighting Irish, the reigning consensus National Coach of the Year, Brian Kelly. Now, I know you got to hear about 3 minutes of that. I mean, what goes through your mind when you hear your young men getting up in front of an enormous crowd? Most people never speak to a crowd this big in their entire life, and they handle themselves so well.
Well, I think it goes back to, obviously the environment that they're in here at Notre Dame. These are young men that are in an incredibly demanding academic environment. Football is important, but there's so much more, and you can see that, how they're going to be successful. I know, we have the 1973 championship team here, and I know they were talking a little bit about their experiences and how it had helped them later in life. You can see how they're going to be successful from all the experiences they've had here at Notre Dame. Football is one of those experiences, there's no question about it, but there's much more to it than just football, and you can see by Chris and Zach and the way they interact that they're going to be very successful.
Football weekends here at Notre Dame are very, very hectic, but after 2 road trips, night games, hostile environments, how good is it and how excited is this team to be playing in their own building tomorrow?
Well, I know this, we won't get home at 3 o'clock in the morning like we have the last couple of weeks, so that's going to be really nice. And I know our guys are excited about being home in front of our home crowd, and it'll be nice coming out of the tunnel now and hearing our crowd. And look, I'll tell you, playing at home, it makes a big difference, especially when we've got a great opponent in Michigan State, and those little things matter the most. And to have that environment, I think, is going to be really important for our team.
We just had the veteran side of your offensive line out here, and you have some newer parts in that line. So what did it mean to you that that line was able to control the final 7-22 at Purdue?
Well, it's about how you finish. Obviously, we want to start better, but we finish strong. And anytime you can control the ball for the last 7.5 minutes of the game, that's how you win football games consistently. And for us, we need that consistency for 4 quarters. But we're learning. A first-time starter and Nick Martin at center, first-time starter at right tackle, first-time starter at right guard. They're all coming together week after week. And anytime you finish the game the way we did, that's something to build off of for the next week.
You mentioned the late rivals home from your last 2 games, and we were talking with the guys from the 73 team. I mean, Notre Dame's always been very difficult academically, so every alumnus here knows that. And this does become kind of a grind because you have to excel as a player here in everything you do. There's no going home from practice and playing Nintendo for 3 hours if you want to be successful here. So how do you help them manage that grind and be up for every game because you know every team will be up for you?
Well, we have to be very careful with the entire year. This is not just about the football season. This is 365 days a year planning. They're here starting, obviously, with our summer workouts, but, they're here all year. So I think you have to be very careful in terms of when you look at the calendar and the schedule, you've got to make sure that you pace out your football team because we want to be a better football team in November than we are in September. And you can't be that if you're taxing your guys to the level where they can't function later in the season. Now we do have some bye weeks this year, which will be helpful. But look, we're not going to make any excuses. They're 18, they're 19, they're 20, they're 21 years old. They can get up and play once a week. So I don't want to make too much of it. We have to be very careful with their schedule. It's demanding, but they'll be fine because, again, we give them the very best of all the things necessary for them to be ready.
In your position, it's certainly not unusual, and you are used to having your decisions questioned. There were a lot of folks that questioned why you named Tommy Rees the starter so early this year. In the last week or so, you didn't get many questions about Tommy Rees. 3 straight 300-yard games. If he does it again tomorrow, and that's not the game plan, he'll become the first Notre Dame quarterback ever to start a season with 4 straight 300-yard games, and he's only thrown 2 picks in 3 games. Talk about how he has developed both on the field and maybe even more importantly, you really saw it at Purdue. He's a true leader on this team.
Well, again, we had to transition from an offense where we had a quarterback that was multidimensional. I think when you talk about multidimensional with Everett Golson, it was the athletic ability. Tommy is multidimensional in the sense that he can get us into great looks all the time. He uses his head. And so our offense now is evolving through him in him getting us into the right plays, get us into the right checks. And I thought he did a terrific job, in particular in the second half, in leading. And we're going to need more of that. We really have to continue to grow in that area. A lot of teams are forcing us to throw the football. And look, whatever way we do it, whether we run it for the last 7 minutes and 22 seconds of the game to close it out to win, or throw it to win, that's balance to me. Balance isn't it 50-50. Balance to me is you better be able to run it as effectively to win as you are throwing it to win. So I think Tommy can make sure that we get both of those things accomplished.
You are in the wonderful position that you have 5 outstanding running backs on your team, and it's always been a constant with fans. The guys who aren't playing, they always think will be better than the guys who are playing. So we got more, will the freshmen play? But you have 5 guys, none of whom have yet been the guy. Last year you had 2 very experienced running backs. Now they're gaining experience every game. So just talk about the dynamics of that rotation right now.
Well, it is. It's a rotation. There's not one player that we're going to put up there and say, well, he's the guy. Now, that might end up being the case as we move through the season. But right now, we're still giving all of these guys an opportunity to learn and grow and be part of the offense. And one week it could be George Atkinson. The next week it's Cam McDaniel. It could be Amir Carlisle. And then, we've got Torian Folston and Greg Bryant. So it could be somebody each week. We trust them all. Circumstances in the game itself determine who's going in. But all of them are very capable. We just can't play them all at once. And it's a long season, and they'll all get their opportunity.
And both freshmen have played, and I know you talked about it on your radio show last night. One of the reasons is you are very impressed with both Bryant and Folston's ability to pick things up on the football field.
That's usually the hardest thing for a freshman to play. It's the playbook. It's not necessarily today the physical ability at the skill position. They can certainly do that, and they've done a terrific job of picking up what we want them to do. Now it's just a matter of getting them that opportunity when the time calls.
You kind of challenged your receivers at halftime on Saturday night to basically, guys, got to make some plays out there, got to step up. And your guys did, in particular, DeVaris Daniels.
Yeah, I think it started with, Chris Brown obviously making a big catch down the sideline. It started with Tommy Rees pushing the ball vertically, and then, DeVaris Daniels making 2 really big plays for us. But that's going to be part of our offense. I think we've got some skilled players that can really push vertically. I think we've got players that can help us on the perimeter. So, again, it's a collective effort of a number of wide receivers that have gotten a chance to play for us. And again, I don't know that there's one guy. TJ Jones is obviously our captain and leader over there, but I think we've got a lot of guys that are going to continue to contribute as the year unfolds. And
we haven't talked about TJ a lot, but I think we should. He's an outstanding receiver. I think in the preseason, he was the one guy you could say, hey, we've got a playmaker coming back. And now he's getting a lot of attention, but he's made a lot of plays for him.
The catch he made down by the goal line was an incredible effort, keeping his foot in bounds and concentration on the football. And, that's what he does for us. And so, with him and Daniels and Brown and, I could give you 5 or 6 other guys that are going to continue to contribute. It's a pretty good core of wide receivers, and we think that they're only going to get better and better each and every week.
Yet another rivalry game this weekend. You play for the Megaphone Trophy, 85 previous matchups between these 2 schools. And Michigan State's always kind of had the personality of being tough defensively. They are, again, number 1 in the country in total defense.
Yeah, and we always know the challenge that they possess defensively, but they're also a physical football team. Coach D'Antonio always preaches that physical play, and it permeates through their entire football team. So it's going to be a great matchup. 2 teams that want to exert their will up front. Offensive line and defensive line will play a huge role. I think it's going to come down to the team that takes care of the football. And ultimately, they've made a lot of plays on defense and turned them into touchdowns. We've got to be able to take care of the football and make some plays late.
And last week, they got on track offensively for the first time with a very mobile quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they've settled on a quarterback. I think that's important for their confidence. And Cook is now somebody that can run the football as well as he's strong-armed, big physical kid. So I think they've got that quarterback situation settled, and now we've got to go defend somebody.
They may have a bit of an adjustment, too. We've talked a lot, and it's true. Notre Dame starts tough. You have big challenges early, but you will be by far the most talented and best team that Michigan State has played as they step up. Do you ever see, in terms of one of your mantras to get off to a fast start, can that be advantage now? Because you're used to playing teams at this level at this point.
Well, again, I don't know that there's any carryover from one week to the next. I think it's what you do, on that particular day. And Michigan State knows the opponent that they have in front of them. And so it's like I tell our players, the team that you watch on film is not the team that you're going to play. We were watching Purdue against Indiana State. I told our guys, they're not going to play like they did against Indiana State, and of course they didn't. And it'll be the same thing. They're not going to play like they played against some other schools. They're going to play Notre Dame their very best. So we expect Michigan State's very, very best.
You just heard Coach say what he says to the players, and we thank you. He lets our cameras on Fighting Irish Digital Media into the locker room, and there was actually a thread on the web that we scripted and it's all staged. He wouldn't give us that much time. It would be a waste of time. What he tells you and what he'll give you to the answer of my final question, keys to the game, is what he tells the players. And no one is more qualified to give you tomorrow's keys than Coach Kelly. So what are the keys for the game?
Well, I think it goes back to what I talked about. Controlling the line of scrimmage, obviously, in any football game is key. Both teams are going to want that. But I think it's turnovers. I really do. I think taking care of the football tomorrow is going to be absolutely crucial. Michigan State's done a great job of taking the football away and turning it into scores. We're going to have to do a great job on our end of taking great care of the football. If we could do that and again, find a way to continue to move the ball in the ground game in some fashion, we'll be in good shape.
Coach, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Irish head coach Brian Kelly, everybody.